Come on into the ditch. I'm your resident ditch witch, Tara Tyne, and we're about to get... Ow! What is that?
Hello, ditch witch. This is Bandon calling. We need your help.
We want to learn about our ancestors for Heritage Week.
Can you help us find out how they use plants in their time and place for food and medicine?
Thank you!
Sinead. Well, I mean, I was going to spend this afternoon retwigging my broomstick, but okay, I think we can take a minute out for a bit of seasonal deliciousness. August is actually a really good time of year to ask this question. Late summer can be a little bit difficult for us wild foragers because it's not yet the time for the abundance of autumn when nuts and berries and all kinds of mushrooms are appearing in great numbers. But there are still plenty of things to find at the moment, and I think the people who lived on this land hundreds or even thousands of years before us are definitely the best ones to ask. Let me just have a wee look in my crystal ball here now, and a wee sip of tea. Calling the ancestors. Are you there? Come in, ancestors. Let me see now. Ah, yeah, there you are. How are you? Have you a wee minute to chat, please? I need a wee favour for the people of Bandon. I'll sort you out for a nice barn brack later on. Yeah, brilliant. Gurrawagad. We'd like to know what you would have picked in August back in your day. Things that were good to eat or drink, or things that were good for medicine. Any suggestions? Much appreciated. Okay, so according to the ancestors, the top picks for this time of year are number 1, elder. First up, the ancestors warn us to be careful of the elder wand. Kids in some parts of Ireland used to say that if you hit someone with an elder twig, neither of you will ever grow any bigger. Elder trees grow up to about 10 meters tall in ditches all over the country. In the month of May, they have plumes of creamy coloured 5-petal flowers, and coming into the autumn, they'll produce bunches and bunches of very flavoursome berries. Make sure not to confuse this with dwarf elder, which grows much lower at about 1.5 metres and sometimes has pinkish tinged flowers. If you're not sure which species of elder you've got, I'd recommend www.wildflowersofireland.net for a more in-depth identification. But once you're sure you've got the correct species, you can gather berries like I do for making delicious jellies, sauces and syrups, which are great on ice cream, pancakes, or just by the spoonful as a great winter tonic to ward sickness off into the winter months. You can also make cordials from both the flowers and the berries. Just always be sure to leave some behind for the birds and don't eat them raw. Number 2, bramble, otherwise known as blackberries. If you find elderberry by itself to taste a little strong and are looking for a fuller flavour to your winter tonic, another great way to pack in some vitamin C is to add the humble yet delectable blackberry. This autumn berry has long been used by us for making jams and tarts, and was commonly mashed and added to porridge. People sometimes get the idea that our ancestors' food wasn't as yummy as ours, but that sounds unreal. Bramble leaf tea is also a good remedy for diarrhea and for skin complaints. The shoots were used to make wicker baskets and the roots were used to make the core of hurling balls. Sometimes people in farming communities use brambles to wish bad luck on another person or on their livestock. Bramble was protected under our ancient Brehon laws as one of the bushes of the woods, and you could be fined for clearing a bramble patch. Proper order, I reckon. Number 3, stinging nettles. Ancestors, are you sure about that? Soup, you say? Alright. Apparently they're a great substitute for cabbage. And some of the Cork crew are telling me here that there used to be such a thing in the area as Nettlemas night, when children would go around with bunches of nettles stinging each other. They don't seem too clear on why exactly, other than nettles being a great bit of crack for chasing your friends with. I'd imagine a lot of friendships ended that way though, to be honest. Mind you might be happy about getting stung if you had rheumatism or arthritis, since nettle stings were believed to ease the joints from the painful symptoms of these conditions. And other than using the young leaves from the nettle plant in early spring and early autumn to make tasty soups and teas for cleansing the blood like our ancestors did, you can actually leave the plant there and just take the seeds if you prefer, since these can be sieved, dried and used as an alternative to sesame seeds, and are great in breads, biscuits and smoothies, since not only do they taste good, but they're a great way to get protein from nature as well as lots of different vitamins. Just make sure to wear some kitchen or garden gloves if you don't want to get stung, but you know, maybe you do. Number 4, dandelion. If the thoughts of toiling away over a hot cauldron making sauces and soups is too much for you, and you have a garden full of dandelions, think salads instead. The ancestors want me to tell you that yes, they are often called wet the beds, but no, that probably won't happen to you unless you eat them right before bed and then forget to visit the bathroom first. They often collected them when they wanted to cleanse their blood or treat coughs, colds, or warts. They're slightly obsessed with cleansing their blood. Just like with nettles, it's best to pick the young fresh leaves from dandelions since they taste better and are less tough. And if you are pulling up dandelion roots from your garden, you might want to consider drying them and drinking them, since they are one of the plants our ancestors used, which are still used today as a sort of coffee substitute. This drink made from boiled dandelion root was widely believed to help cure kidney and liver problems, so it really was like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Or should that be curing 2 birds with 1 stone? As with all foraged foods, be sure not to pick from an area which is exposed to a lot of pollution, and with low growing species especially, be sure to give them a good wash before eating. Number 5. Crab apples. There are a few different places in Ireland where the local crabapple tree was believed to be the cure for a particular ailment, but they were valued in every corner of the island as a magical autumn fruit. Before we began to bake tarts and pies with them, we would often make cider at this time of year and cook apple cakes in special baking tins over the hearth fire, or just roast them like a marshmallow over the fire and dip them in sugar to make them a little bit more palatable. Another way to eat them was to make a jelly for eating on bread. It's actually one of my favourite jelly flavours. And if you wanted to pack in some vitamin C and make it healthy jelly, apart from the mountains of sugar, you could combine the apple with rose hips, gathered from our native dog rose plant. Again, I would like to emphasise that apple and rose hip jelly sounds like something that would cost a fortune in an artisan food house. Exhibit B in the Ancient Irish Foods Sound Off the Charts Amazing category. Number 6. Rowan, otherwise known as mountain ash. Now, this one is actually a ditch witch top tip. In fact, the ancestors are laughing at me and saying that rowan is only for tying to cows' tails to prevent theft, witchcraft, or fairies. Yeah, I hear you. But actually, the berries of the rowan tree are incredibly versatile. The only thing you can't do with them is eat them raw, since they're very bitter. If you're anything like me, one of your favourite things about autumn is collecting wild foods you can't get in the supermarket and making delicious preserves to gift to people in the wintertime once the flavours have matured. I've actually been meaning to try making a nice jelly for meat or cheese by mixing rowan berries with another autumn berry, perhaps elder, and obviously a few witchy extras. Actually, that's making me hungry now. Before I go though, one last word from our great grandparents. That's to be sure to protect yourself and your environment when foraging for foods and medicines. Always be 100% sure of a plant's identity before picking and taking it home. Not all plant ID apps are 100% accurate, so double checking several articles and websites is a good idea, and you might even want to invest in a foraging guidebook. Highly recommend. We already mentioned washing things before use, especially if you're planning to eat them raw, and especially if they grow down low. Always use a clean knife or pair of scissors when you're cutting, and if you're not sure how to cut with care, please consult with ye old internet. Never take more than you need. It's important to leave lots behind for the birds and other wildlife who rely on the food in their environment to survive. The Botanical Society of Britain and Ireland recommends taking no more than 5% of what you find. In other words, picking 1 in every 20 plants. And if the species is considered rare, leave it alone. Someday we'll be the ancestors, and we want these same plants to be growing for our grandchildren. So, people of Bandon, I hope that helps to answer your question about what our forebears might have picked in August to fill their bellies for the autumn and to help stay healthy into the winter time. I do love a wee chat with them. They're better cracked than a library, just maybe not always as dependable. Anyway, Goramahagiv to the ancestors and to my friends at a Taste of Bandon Food Festival for the great question. They want to hear from you in the comments about what you'll be foraging this autumn, and I'll personally be keeping an eye on the threads in case anyone shares any good recipes. So slán agus bannacht, goodbye and good luck to you. Now, where did I put that broomstick?